if you listen to Wednesday mornings, Eye on College Basketball podcast, you know that we knew we were in for a busy Wednesday night filled with one compelling matchup after another. We thought it was going to be fun, but what we didn't know is that both number 1 and number 2 in the AP poll would both take losses, but that is what happened. Final score, Kraton, 76, number 1, Kansas, 63. Final score, number 9, Duke, 84. Number 2, Auburn, 78. Norlander, I know you were at Gamble Pavilion last night watching UConn's win over Baylor. We're going to get to that. But first, your thoughts on number 1 and number 2 both losing last night.
I know you did an HQ hit. I'm going to lean a lot of the Kansas stuff on you because I saw very little of it. Now, I went to Gamble, watched UConn's win, post-game press conferences. I actually scooted out of there right away. It began to snow last night in Connecticut. I'm well over an hour from stores. Actually, as I talk to you right now, my kiddos are outside. You know what? God bless childhood. They're playing in the snow right now. Delayed opening. So that's been fun. But anyway, the point is I tried to get home as soon as possible. And God bless technology. I brought up YouTube TV on my phone and I listened to the call of Auburn Duke for basically most of it. And then I was home with about 6 and change to go in that game. So I actually have decent bearings on that game. And damn, Isaiah Evans, let's just start there and then we can talk Kansas, but obviously a very noisy night. And, the SEC being incapable of outright sweeping the ACC, but coming damn close. Obviously, this game was in that as well. Isaiah Evans being the first half hero. I believe it was 6 3-pointers through the first 20 minutes, which was huge. And then they really got it done across the board in the second half. As Auburn, it was a tough ask to go in there and get a win against Duke. We both picked Duke to win. It winds up winning by 6 there. And I know Broome came on stronger in the second half, was a little bit bumpy to start off the game there. But you had Flagg with 22 and 11 boards and 4 assists and 2 blocks and 3 steals, which just feels like that is his quintessential stat line there. Tyrese Proctor hit a big-time 3 in the second half, which I thought came at a really crucial moment. And in fact, I believe they had Sion James start last night instead of Caleb Foster, since you had some lineup tinkering there. Evans played well. Number 1 defense came out on top here, although both teams scored at a good clip. Duke was at 1.33 points and Auburn was at 1.24 points overall. Listen, Tigers have won 7 of 8. They played a really hard schedule. They're still fine. But for Duke, I thought this was a pretty big win. I'm not going to go as far as to call it crucial, but if you really wanted to go there, you could have a case because Duke has to play at Louisville in league play coming up this weekend. But in terms of non-conference stuff, there's nothing else on the schedule. So they lose to Kentucky and they lose to Kansas, but they win at Arizona and they beat Auburn. The ACC could legitimately struggle to get more than 5 teams into the tournament, meaning that Duke's resume building opportunities in the conference will not be as abundant as it would like to be. And so in that scope, getting a home win, which will be a quad 1 win over Auburn, I thought was pretty significant there. Good on Shire and his guys. For Bruce Pearl, you win in Maui, you come back, you play Duke close, you can't quite pull it off. You're going to take that deal every time. The Tigers still Tigers are not done, by the way. They still have Ohio State coming up next weekend, not this upcoming weekend, and they still play Purdue in non-conference play. So even more resume opportunities coming from Auburn. What did you see from the game? What are your thoughts?
First, trivia time.
Give it to me.
It's a trivia time.
Okay.
When's the last time number 1 and number 2 in the AP poll both lost on the same day?
That was January 9th of 2024.
Son of a mother, son. You're a son of a mother, son.
I know. It was notable. How about trivia time?
Okay, come on, let's go.
You weren't ready for this one, buddy. Maybe you were. When's the last time before New Year's Day
UMass Lowell,
the number 1 and number 2 team lost on the same day?
When was the last time what?
The last time the top 2 teams in the country lost in a given season before New Year's Day of that season.
Oh, man, that was probably last year, too.
It was not.
Should have been.
Famous ending. It's been more than a decade.
Oh, Anthony Davis block in the corner.
Anthony Davis block in the corner. Who are they playing?
Quick, Carolina.
No.
You don't remember that game? That's the year they won the national championship.
Yeah, that's not it.
Damn.
It's that season, though.
Well, that's the only thing I remember.
Ohio State went to Kansas and lost 78-67. And Christian Watford hit the shot to beat Kentucky.
Oh, I do remember that.
That is December 10th, 2011 was the last time in the same day before New Year's the top two teams lost as number 1 and number 2. Yeah, big development in the sport here. Thoughts on Auburn, Duke, and or Kansas Kraton, which was obviously hello. I mean, that spread obviously surprised the entire sport. No one thought Kraton was winning to that level, and I don't want to say with that amount of ease because they obviously had to execute at a high level and get it done. But man, oh man, that was to me the most surprising result of the night.
First off, shouts to Hakeem Dermish. He's the one who told me the January 9th, 2024 thing on CBS Sports HQ last night. If you're curious, it was number 1 Purdue losing at Nebraska by 16. You can't just walk into Pinnacle Bank, not in January. And number 2 Houston on that same day lost at Iowa State by 4 Hilton Magic. So that was that. As for last night, Kansas just didn't show up. They shot poorly from the field, poorly from 3, or average from 3, poorly from the free throw line. Hunter Dickinson got 2 fouls in the first half, went to the bench. Wasn't good before he went to the bench. Wasn't good after he got off of the bench. It was just an all-around poor performance that if you were somebody who had been, tweeting me in recent weeks saying, you really think that's the best team in the country? Last night was a good night for you because there was not a single point in that game. Not minute 1, not minute 40, where they looked anything close to the best team in the country.
Man, and you know what the ironic part about this is? So last year, it's kind of a careful what you wish for situation. Last year, UConn went to Kansas as part of the Big East Big 12 battle. And I think, although I wish it wasn't the case, I believe this is the last year of that, which is unfortunate, but that's a whole other topic altogether. Anyway, UConn went to Kansas last year. Kansas got the win. And then the idea was that Kansas would do the return trip to UConn this season, but that didn't happen. And I know Kansas was seeking a different game, specifically because Kansas has to play at Missouri this upcoming weekend there, and perhaps to cut down on distance of travel. Or for whatever reason, Kansas was not looking to have that game be returned, so Baylor got slotted in instead. Meantime, Kansas gets Kraton, which even going into the season before Kraton had slumped, you would have thought, okay, well, it's still a tough game. Lo and behold, they wind up taking the loss anyway in advance of playing Missouri. 7-1 overall. Nada, flip on your mic real quick here. What is our poll question for today's podcast, out of curiosity?
Poll question is, who should still be the number 1 team as after number 1 and 2 lost?
Mm-hmm.
Auburn is still leading this poll with 53%.
What are the options here? Auburn and who else?
Auburn, Tennessee, Kansas, and Gonzaga.
Auburn, Tennessee, Kansas, and Gonzaga. GP, who is number 1 for you on this Thursday morning, December 5th?
Okay. After staying up till 2 o'clock in the morning, thinking through it from every angle.
Yeah. You've decided it's got to be Kansas.
It's just, it's Bill Self and DeJuan Harris. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do?
Hold on, I'm joking. It's okay. I was about to say, there's no way.
No. Let me just talk you through it because this is the way I had to talk myself through it. So you start at number 1, Kansas. Okay, they were your preseason number 1. They had a nice body of work, even if it wasn't the best body of work heading into last night's game. But they had a 0 in the loss column, and I think you can reasonably, if you think somebody was going to be the best team in the sport since April 19th, when they got a 0 in the loss column on December 4th, you can keep them there. And so that's what I did. But when you lose at Kraton, a Kraton team that already has 3 losses that had not been very good, when you lose at Kraton, you can't stay at number 1. So they can't be there. You go to the team that was number 2 on Wednesday morning. That's Auburn.
Yeah.
I agree with the poll. You could still make a case that if you just Forget when the games were played. Forget what happened yesterday. Just it's December 5th. Let's look at what everybody's done this year. You could make a case that Auburn should go to number 1. But I've been doing this long enough to know that if you ever take a team that was number 2, watch them get beat, and then the next morning move them to number 1, that just ain't going to play well for your mentions. They don't understand
your heart. Don't worry about your mentions.
They don't understand that on Twitter. They don't even understand that over at Blue Sky.
I think they might actually. They're pretty.
You know what? They probably would over Blue Sky.
I think they would, to be honest.
Over at Twitter, I would get called a pedophile. And on Blue Sky, they'd be like, GP, I understand. Good job.
He's a big brain thinker over there. Yeah.
At Twitter, they would say, you should go to jail forever. And on Blue Sky, they'd be like, GP, man, I hope you're doing okay. Right?
I might slightly disagree with this ranking, but you know what? I appreciate what you do, and I'm going to continue to follow your work.
That's right. So perhaps I should just move Auburn to number 1. But I didn't. I did keep Auburn at number 2, though. I kept Auburn right at number 2, even after the loss at Duke. You go to number 3 on Wednesday morning in the top 25 and 1. That was Iowa State. And they got a big win over Marquette.
Yep, we're getting there, Iowa State.
Yeah, we're getting there. Hilton Magic, man. You know I believe in it. You know how much I trust Buildings. And last night, by the way, was a great night to trust Buildings.
Yeah.
Wonderful night to trust Buildings.
Kind of hard to win on the road in college basketball, no doubt.
Okay, the problem is you wake up on December 5th, in regards to what happened yesterday, Iowa State's a one-loss team. Auburn's a one-loss team.
Yeah.
Auburn's got better wins than Iowa State and a neutral court win over Iowa State. I can't wrap my head around getting Iowa State above Auburn.
Yep.
So I kept Iowa State right where they were. After that, you've got Marquette. Well, like Marquette just lost at Iowa State. You're not moving them to number 1. You can't jump from 4 to 1 after losing at Iowa State. They won't tolerate that. They won't tolerate
lost and they won't the theater.
They won't tolerate that over at Twitter. So you can't do that. And then it takes you to number 5 Tennessee, which is 8-0 with 8 victories by at least 15 points. They are blowing out everybody. And if you were looking for the team in the country right now that has a 0 in the loss column, quality wins, strong computer numbers, Tennessee is the best option. Tennessee, as of Thursday morning, has moved to number 1 in the top 25 and 1.
SEC teams, I'm not going to say sitting idle. They just played 2 days ago. But, yeah, moving up while losses around them. See if that affects the CFP bracket here 3 days from now, by the way. And that's a joy to watch from
the college football playoff committee, they don't care about what happens in the games. they just as long as they got Alabama and 11 other teams, they're cool. They don't care about anything else.
It's too good. Congrats to Kraton on getting a win. The Big East in general, man, took advantage, needed to do it. Kraton taking care of business at home. I thought that was crucial. You go back to what happened 2 nights ago, Nova and Providence winning. We'll get to UConn. UConn gets it done against Baylor with both teams shorthanded, but the Kraton win, man, that was a big time victory there. And yeah, this was the running theme across Wednesday night, though. I mean, same old song and dance. It's really hard to win on the road in college basketball, maybe particularly in non-conference play for high major to high major. Auburn goes into Duke, can't get it done. Baylor goes into UConn, can't get it done. Kansas goes into Kraton, can't get it done. Wasn't that Marquette goes into Iowa State, can't get it done. Wasn't that way across the board. We'll get to some more results. But for the most part, yeah, I mean, Ohio State got absolutely mutilated at Maryland. And we've got some good mix-ups there at the top of the poll. Tennessee, there's a case for it. The only team not in the poll that obviously I think has a decent case is Iowa State. But Iowa State, GP just ran through it there. What I do not want to hear, and I haven't heard it yet, I haven't seen a tweet about it, I haven't heard a podcast segment about it, I haven't seen it discussed on television with the Chiron underneath it. I don't want to hear there's no great teams, okay? We could have a lot of great teams. Right now, you've got, let's see how many undefeateds are left. Right now, your undefeated teams are Tennessee, Florida, won last night. Oregon, won last night. Oklahoma, Utah State, UC Irvine. Anteaters, stand up. Loyola Chicago, Drake, and Rhode Island. So we're at 9 unbeatens left and a slew. I mean, there's got to be, I'm looking right now, GP, there's more than 35 one-loss teams in the sport right now. So Good Wednesday night, big Wednesday night, headlined obviously by the top two teams going down on the road.
Isn't it interesting? Drake, on one hand, having the worst year you could imagine. Drake, on the other hand, off to a pretty good start.
Well, one's a rapper from Toronto, and the other's a university based in Des Moines, Iowa. So
one of them is a master manipulator, habitual liar.
Okay.
Yeah. And a colonizer. And the other one's off to a pretty good start this basketball season. Greg McDermott, saw this last night.
Okay.
Is the fourth coach ever to beat the number one team in the AP poll by double digits in back-to-back years.
Oh, that's a good stat. Don't ask me the other ones. I'm not going to get it.
It's Bill Henderson.
See, yeah, it is.
I don't know if it is. I'm just making things up. I don't know who it is. I by the time I stumbled into that, I thought it was time to go to bed. But shouts to Greg McDermott, big win. And
big win, man.
In all seriousness, like they needed that just it wasn't as high profile as UConn struggles because UConn's the back-to-back champs and Kraton isn't. But in the Big East, you had two preseason top 25 teams, one of which was the reigning back-to-back champ, and they like really got off to rough starts. And so Kraton needed something just to calm everybody down. They get that last night, wire to wire. And we joke about it all the time, but last night really was a great example of just trust the buildings. If you have quality programs, forget the team. I mean, don't ever forget the team.
Again, you're just taking all the credit away from the human beings involved in making this happen, just saying, just trust the building. It was the building that did it.